Mark Rogers TV with our first bowl preview, in the Russell Athletic Bowl brings us a couple of name programs in Clemson taking on Oklahoma. We bring in a Matt Hofeld of Crimson and Cream Machine to break down the Sooners and give us a look into what the Sooners could bring in this matchup with the Tigers. Hey, Matt, how are you?
How you doing, Mark? I'm honored that we're the first preview.
Very first one. First of many, I'm sure. So let's size it up with Oklahoma. We know what the deal is in bowl games and the expectations of the fan base and how much stock they put in bowl games. I hear it all the way from, hey, it's a national stage. Everybody that's watching college football that night's going to be watching our team. It's postseason play. Got to show up against another Power 5 conference and make us look good, make the conference look good, all the way to, litter the roster, let everybody play, the young guys play. This is what it's for. It's an exhibition game. So where do you think Sooner Nation falls on that spectrum?
Well, in the days immediately after the Bedlam loss, this is a trip to Disney World for Oklahoma fans. It's a trip to Disney World with the bowl game included. Now, some of that will change over the next week or so as the game approaches and you actually start hearing game details and so forth. But right now, the Sooner fan base is in such disbelief and shock over the way this season has gone that there's not a lot of high expectations of Oklahoma coming out of this game with the win. And I really wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it'll happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some return tickets from Oklahoma's side as well.
All right, man, let's look at the quarterback situation. I don't think there's a quarterback scenario in the country over the past couple of years of a big-time program that has taken more twists and turns than the Sooners. So Cody Thomas got the call against Oklahoma State. He turned in a pedestrian effort, 10 of 20, touchdown, no interceptions. So can you set us up for this bowl game, and then more importantly going into 2015 and what we could expect out of the Oklahoma quarterback position?
Well, let me tell you the stat you need to know about Cody Thomas. He's a good kid. He's a two-sport player, baseball and football. He is a redshirt freshman, but the telling stat on Saturday was, you said 10 for 20. At one point, he was 8 for 8. So I'll let you do the math on how that second half went for him. Yeah, Cody Thomas, he's clearly not ready, in my opinion, to be in the position that he's in. Redshirt freshman, he drew the position as the backup to Trevor Knight. The best quarterback, in my opinion, on this roster is not eligible to play right now, and that's Baker Mayfield. Back in the spring, he was able to participate in Oklahoma's red-white game, and he was the best quarterback on the field. And there's a reason why I think this coaching staff petitioned and worked so hard to try to get him eligible for 2014, and it just didn't. It didn't matriculate, come through for them. And I think you're going to see as the spring comes around. I still haven't heard on Trevor Knight what his status is on the bowl, and we probably won't hear until sometime after Christmas. But at this point, knowing that going into the Bedlam game, he hadn't practiced at all since taking that hit against Baylor, I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't think any Oklahoma fans would be surprised if he doesn't participate in this game. That said, regardless of whether he's healthy to play or not, I think in the spring the quarterback competition is opened up, and I think ultimately Baker Mayfield will win out, and he will be the starting quarterback as Oklahoma goes into 2015.
There's only a couple handfuls of programs where 8-4 is definitely a disappointment each and every season. So regardless of what happens in Orlando, the highlight of this season is going to be the performance for the entire season, but of course that one special day against Kansas of Samaje Perine, 1,500 yards, 21 touchdowns. So can you kind of give us the plight of Mr. Perine as he has risen from the depths of the depth chart to become a star in college football, and then how that running back position may shape up for 2015?
Well, there's definitely the feel-good story of 2014 for Oklahoma has got to be Samaje Perine. He came in. He was one of the top recruits that Oklahoma had signed in their class back in February. But the thing is, he came in with the top recruit Oklahoma signed in running back Joe Mixon. If Joe Mixon had not had the trouble that he got into on July 25th, at that point, late July, early August, Samaje Perine was number 4 on Oklahoma's depth chart, which meant Keith Ford, Alex Ross, Joe Mixon were all going to be ahead of him, and Samaje Perine was going to be taking a red shirt. Now, We know how that series of events turned out for Joe Mixon being suspended for the season, Oklahoma having to do the three-back rotation they wanted to do anyway. And then Samaje Perine just kind of emerged as the beast amongst those three running backs. He's really the only true in between the tackles that the Sooners have this year, with Keith Ford being a guy who could make some speed cuts and also catch the ball out of the backfield. Alex Ross being a guy that attacks the edge. But Samaje Perine being that workhorse that he is, set all kinds of records this year. This broke Adrian Peterson's record for running touchdowns by a freshman, was on pace to knock on the door of Peterson's freshman rushing record at Oklahoma. Think about this. He didn't even play a full 3 quarters against Oklahoma State, and he was already at 150 yards when he turned his ankle. So there's a legitimate case to be made that he would have had another 200-yard-plus day in Bedlam last Saturday had he not gotten hurt, which really would have put him on the door of Adrian Peterson's record as a freshman. This running back, this team, I think, Mark, can take a completely different identity next season. If you think about Baker Mayfield playing quarterback, you got Samaje Perine at running back, and then you're going to add Joe Mixon into the mix. And if he is the guy that everybody says he is, that he can, if he can live up to half of what everyone says he's capable of doing, that makes it a very potent running game. And then let's not forget, there's still a chance that Dorial Green-Beckham will be on this team as a receiver next year, and you add him with a guy like Sterling Shepard, and suddenly you've got maybe one of the, if not the most potent offenses in the Big 12. Now, Oklahoma has to do some things, in my opinion, to make that work. They've got to go back and evaluate their offensive philosophy. I think they've got to build this offense around the running game and not a running quarterback. I think they also have to do everything they can to keep DGB on campus, whether that's bringing in, guys who have gone off to the NFL, those receivers like Mark Clayton, the comeback, Ryan Broyles, to come back and talk to this kid and tell him the advantages of staying for 4 years at the university and then going into the NFL. They've got to put the full court press on this kid. But if they don't get him back, they've got to find a big body receiver to make this offense work. But right now, we're 5 months away from the spring. But there's a lot of potential out there for this offense to rebound next year. And when you add a big-time receiver, you add another big-time running back, and you add a quarterback, a lot of potential for this team to rebound from what's been an abysmal 2014, which tells you a little bit about Oklahoma Sooner fans when we're talking about an 8-4 season being abysmal. Let me leave you this last thought before we move on to the next topic. But 2013, Baker Mayfield was named the Big 12 Freshman of the Year on offense. 2014, Samaje Perine was named the Big 12 Freshman of the Year on offense. In 2015, Oklahoma could have 2 of the Big 12's Freshman Offensive Players of the Year starting for them going into that season.
Man, I don't think there's any question in watching Missouri go to another SEC championship game that the difference between the Tigers in 2013 and challenging Auburn for the title and scoring 42 points and being completely shut down for the most part against Alabama this season was not having, well, Damian Washington to a lesser extent, but really the stud guy that you can throw the ball downfield to, and he can frame up a defensive back and go get the ball and high point it and just box him out for the football. And that was DGB turning in 1,000 yards plus, double-digit touchdowns for Mizzou last season, and what he could do for this Oklahoma offense next season. Matt Hofeld joins us from Crimson and Cream Machine. Let's talk some defense, Matt. We've talked personnel going back to the Sugar Bowl performance on through the offseason and how dominant the defense can be at times versus what they've shown us at times. And specifically the Bedlam game I did not see, but 38 points stands out against an Oklahoma State offense that has shown us little this season.
Yeah, a couple of things on that. Oklahoma State's clearly a different offense with Mason Rudolph at quarterback than what they had been with Dax Garman. He was impressive in his debut against Baylor and continued to be impressive against Oklahoma. What it boils down to the defense is they're still good on their front seven, but this is a group that struggled heavily in the secondary, particularly at both safety spots and at cornerback, where Aaron Colvin now is starting in the NFL and Julian Wilson had slid over from safety to corner. And he had a decent season, didn't have a great season, but the only guy right there in that secondary right now that causes any problems for opposing quarterbacks is Zach Sanchez, who's a sophomore, and he tied for the lead in the Big 12 in interceptions. But that's 1 out of 4. That's 1/4 of your secondary that's performing at a high level, and you've got the other 3/4 that are still learning the game and struggling. Oklahoma's got to get that shored up. Whether that means they look at junior college guys, or they think they can bring these young safeties along during the spring. You kind of saw them move over to put Jordan Thomas in the game, a true freshman against Oklahoma State, and start to begin to do some things with those younger guys. I would expect to see more of that trend continuing into this bowl game, just to try to see what they've got talent-wise and where these guys are in their system, because they do have they're talented guys, but they're guys that have a lot of growing up to do on the football field and really understanding their role within the scheme of this defense. That's the biggest thing. This is the defense that's going to return a lot of guys up front, but they've got to get better in the secondary if they want to try to get back and contend for a Big 12 title.
They seem to catch a bit of a break with the loss of Deshaun Watson. Clemson coach Dabo Swinney had opted to go for surgery and get that going and get the rehab started, because it's going to be about 8 months, and he wants his freshman quarterback ready for his sophomore season and going through summer drills. Cole Stoudt, 6 touchdowns, 10 picks, not near the dynamic playmaker, although he did battle Watson for the starting job and won it initially going into game 1, just is not the dynamic playmaker with his arm or his legs that Deshaun Watson is.
Well, first of all, kudos to Dabo Swinney for doing the right thing by this kid. I mean, he's a freshman, he's a young kid, and I think by making this move, there's a lot of merit to having him ready for 2015. But I think you got to give him credit for looking out for this kid's best interest. It's a bowl game. Clemson's not playing for a championship. Oklahoma's not playing for a championship. Don't risk this kid's future for what's really a meaningless game. So I give Swinney for putting his players above the game. That said, I think the struggles Oklahoma has had offensively, this is going to be a low-scoring game. I do think it helps Oklahoma. The Sooners definitely caught a break there, particularly if the Sooners are going to end up playing Cody Thomas, and hopefully Samaje Perine will be healthy. But if he's not, the Sooners definitely needed that break, because Oklahoma's going up against what's already a stout defense. So the Sooners will need every break that they can get in this game, and it sounds like they've already got one. Obviously, no pun intended for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, Clemson's gone from a team definitely. Clemson's gone from a team with Taj Boyd running the show, Sammy Watkins, Martavius Bryant. We see them making plays on Sunday, just about every Sunday in the NFL. They couldn't stop anybody defensively, despite a lot of speed, just blown coverages, blown assignments, to a very stout defense, as you point out very well, that has trouble scoring about 20 points less per game with Cole Stoudt under center. All right, we've already talked about Sooner Nation's mindset. How about the players going into this one? Because I love the bowl games. I like to see the bowl games, and for me, it's a big deal. It's postseason play, but at the same time, nothing tangible can be won here. So what do you think Oklahoma's mindset, and what kind of performance do you think we'll see in Orlando?
Well, I think there's a lot of pride at stake here for these upperclassmen. Oklahoma said goodbye to a large group of seniors on Saturday against Oklahoma State. They went out with a bedlam loss. They would like to go out with a bowl win. So I think there's a pride factor there. The other side of this coin is this is a young Oklahoma football team. When the Big 12, when the media rankings came out on Monday announcing the Big 12, the AP All-Conference players and selections, there were a total of eight Sooners between the first and second team, 4 on each, 4 first team, 4 second team. Of those 8 players selected, only 2 of them were seniors. And so this is a young team that I think they're hungry. I mean, I think you're going to see Oklahoma come out, and they're going to give a good effort. The question is not on Oklahoma's fans, in my opinion. I don't think the question is what kind of effort we're going to get from this team. The question is what kind of support are they going to have, and really how are they going to be outmatched, or how will they match up against a Clemson defense. I think the big story here, and this is going to be a story that's really, I think, going to explode as this game becomes closer. Clemson right now is the top scoring defense in the nation, and they're coordinated by Brent Venables, who was a longtime Bob Stoops assistant who came with Bob Stoops from Kansas State, and was really, a lot of people look at, he was a scapegoat for Bob Stoops a couple years ago when Mike Stoops wanted to come back. Brent Venables was shown the door, and he's landed at Clemson and really has a good thing going there. So this is going to be dubbed more the Brent Venables Bowl than it is going to be the Russell Athletic Bowl, and that's going to be a determining factor is how much will Brent Venables be able to rally his troops around him, and how much pride is on the line for Oklahoma, this coaching staff and these players, as they go up against their former coach. I think that's going to be a major factor in this contest.
Matt, this is why I have you on. I forgot about that angle. Venables, yes, Clemson was a disaster on defense. They gave up 70-plus in a bowl game against West Virginia, the Orange Bowl. They bring in Brent Venables with the big track record at Oklahoma. He's kind of cleaned things up. It's taken him a couple years. But, yeah, now it's coming back to me. Good stuff there on the angle of Brent Venables against his former team. Good stuff right there. So we got Clemson 9-3, Oklahoma 8-4. Again, doesn't mean a whole lot, but at the same time, if you love to watch big-time brands knock heads in postseason play, it's at Orlando. I think it's December 27th, I believe, with Oklahoma.
29th.
Clemson, December 29th. Okay.
Yeah.
One of 38. So, all right, Matt, we appreciate the time and the insight always into Oklahoma football.
Anytime, Mark. I appreciate it, buddy.